They never tell you what happens after the cell door closes. Not the judge. Not the papers. Not the people watching from the outside. They talk about the sentence. They talk about the crime. They talk about punishment. But they don't talk about what UK prison does to an inmate once the noise fades, once the door locks, once you're alone with your thoughts. The first thing you notice isn't fear. It's finality. That sound, metal on metal, it doesn't echo loud, but it settles deep. The door closes and something inside you understands, straight away, that life has just split into before and after. Before, you were someone with choices. After, you're an inmate. In UK prison, nothing dramatic happens at first. No shouting. No chaos. Just quiet routine. That's how it gets you. You're shown your cell. Small. Plain. Functional. A bed that's too thin. A toilet you didn't ask for. A window that lets light in but keeps the world out. You sit down and wait. You don't know what for. You just wait. The system doesn't rush. It lets the reality sink in slowly. You learn the rules by watching others. You learn when to speak and when to stay silent. You learn quickly that attention is currency, and most times, you're better off invisible. UK prison isn't built to shock you. It's built to wear you down. Days start to look the same. Same unlock. Same bang up. Same food. Same faces. Same walls. At first, you count days. Then weeks. Then you stop counting altogether. Time changes shape inside. Minutes drag. Years disappear. As an inmate, you start adjusting without realizing. Your posture changes. Your voice changes. Even your thinking changes. You stop planning far ahead. You focus on getting through today, then tomorrow. Hope becomes something you ration carefully. You notice how prison strips identity in small ways. Your name gets replaced by a number. Your clothes get replaced by uniformity. Your privacy disappears without anyone needing to explain why. You're no longer someone who decides. You're someone who waits. Waiting becomes the hardest skill to master. Waiting for doors to open. Waiting for food. Waiting for news. Waiting for visits. Waiting for release. Waiting for your life to restart. You watch other inmates closely. Everyone's got a story. Some loud. Some quiet. Some angry. Some completely numb. You learn not to ask too many questions. You learn that silence keeps you safer than curiosity. There's a strange brotherhood inside UK prison. Not friendship exactly. More like mutual understanding. Everyone knows what it costs to be here. Everyone's lost something. Some lost freedom. Some lost family. Some lost themselves. That's when prison really starts working on you. UK prison doesn't rely on violence to control inmates. It relies on routine, predictability, repetition. It teaches you how to exist within limits and punishes you subtly when you step outside them. You feel it most at night, when the wing settles, when voices fade, when the lights dim. That's when thoughts get loud. Regret shows up uninvited. So does guilt. So does fear. Not of prison, but of the future. You wonder who you'll be when you leave. You wonder if the outside will recognize you. You wonder if you'll recognize yourself. Some inmates cope by shutting down emotionally. Others by staying angry. Anger feels powerful inside. It keeps vulnerability away. But it burns fast. UK prison doesn't care how you cope, as long as you comply. You see inmates arrive full of fight, full of noise, full of plans. Months later, they move slower, speak less, look tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. That's what prison does. It doesn't just punish behavior. It reshapes people. You notice how freedom becomes an idea instead of a feeling. You talk about it like a place you once visited. You replay memories of simple things, walking into a shop, sitting on a sofa, choosing when to sleep. Things you never valued before suddenly feel priceless. Visits come and go. They remind you of life outside, but they also remind you how far removed you are from it. Every goodbye pulls something out of you. Every return to the wing feels heavier. As an inmate, you start questioning yourself in ways you never did before. Who am I without control? Who am I without my role? Who am I when everything's taken except time? Some answer those questions. Some avoid them. Some break under them. UK prison doesn't force reflection. It traps you with it. You learn to survive emotionally by lowering expectations. Not getting too excited. Not getting too hopeful. Because hope inside can be dangerous. It hurts when it's taken away. The scariest part isn't losing freedom. It's getting used to it. Because when prison starts feeling normal, you realize something shifted. The outside feels distant, unreal, like something you watched on a screen rather than lived. And that's when the fear changes. You stop fearing prison. You start fearing release. Because if this place has changed you, how do you fit back into a world that didn't wait? UK prison turns inmates into survivors of routine, of structure, of control. And survival doesn't always translate well to freedom. The door will open one day. It always does. But what steps out isn't the same person who went in. And that's the part no one prepares you for. Because after the cell door closes, it's not just time being served. It's a person being reshaped. And that reshaping doesn't stop just because you learn the rules. It carries on quietly, day after day, in ways you don't notice until it's already happened. As an inmate in a UK prison, you start living smaller. Not physically, mentally. You reduce your needs. You stop wanting too much. Wanting becomes risky because disappointment is guaranteed. So you adapt by expecting less. You stop reacting to things that would have shocked you on the outside. Shouting down the wing. Bad news passed casually. Someone disappearing from the landing without explanation. You register it, file it away, move on. That emotional flattening feels like strength at first, like control. But it comes at a cost. You don't laugh as easily. You don't feel as deeply. You don't trust quickly. And trust is the first thing prison teaches you to ration. You learn to read people fast. Who's performing? Who's genuinely calm? Who's unpredictable? You become alert in a way that never really switches off. Even in your cell, even in your sleep, part of you stays awake. That constant awareness is exhausting. UK prison doesn't feel dangerous all the time, but it feels watchful. Like something could shift at any moment. That low-level tension settles into your body. Your shoulders stay tight. Your jaw clenches without you noticing. This is what prison does to an inmate's nervous system. You hear people on the outside talk about doing time like it's passive, like you're just waiting something out. But inside, time is doing something to you. Every day it leaves a mark. You start thinking differently about authority, about power, about fairness. Some inmates become submissive. Others become resistant. Most become quietly cynical. You see how rules bend depending on who's enforcing them. How consistency isn't guaranteed. How patience becomes a survival skill. You learn when to push and when to disappear. You also learn how little control you truly have. A lockdown can cancel your plans without warning. A staff shortage can take away your movement. A mistake you didn't make can still affect you. And there's nothing you can do about it. That helplessness is subtle, but it builds. It teaches inmates that effort doesn't always equal outcome. That doing everything right doesn't guarantee peace. Over time, that lesson leaks into how you see life itself. You start thinking, why bother? More often than you should. Some inmates fight that feeling. They read. They train. They study. They build routines inside the routine. That's their way of holding on to identity. Others drift. And drifting inside UK prison is dangerous. Not because something dramatic happens, but because nothing does. Days pass. Weeks pass. You wake up one day and realize you've been mentally absent for a long time. You're here, but you're not really here. Prison changes how you relate to other people too. Conversations become surface level. Vulnerability feels risky. You joke more, or you speak less. You keep things light, even when they're heavy. Because showing weakness in the wrong moment can cost you. So inmates develop masks. Calm. Tough. Unbothered. Even the quiet ones are performing something. Distance. That performance doesn't always come off when you need it to. Visits expose it. Phone calls expose it. Moments where emotion slips through remind you how much you've been holding back. And once you notice that, you can't unnotice it. UK prison also changes how inmates see themselves. You stop introducing yourself by who you are and start defining yourself by where you are. I'm doing time. I'm inside. I'm on the wing. Your world shrinks to a postcode-sized reality. The outside becomes abstract. News stories feel unreal. Trends pass you by. Language changes. Slang evolves. You hear new phrases and feel old without meaning to. That gap grows wider the longer you're inside. And quietly, in the back of your mind, a question forms. What happens when I leave? Because prison hasn't just been holding you. It's been shaping you for survival in a place that doesn't exist anywhere else. UK prison rewards compliance, patience, emotional restraint. The outside doesn't always work that way. On the outside, initiative matters. Expression matters. Adaptability matters. Inside, those things can get you in trouble. So inmates learn to switch parts of themselves off. The problem is, switches are easier to turn off than back on. You see it in people nearing release. The excitement mixed with anxiety. The confidence mixed with fear. Everyone expects you to be happy. But inside, you're bracing. Because you know something they don't. You know that prison doesn't end at the gate. It follows you out in habits. In reactions. In the way you scan rooms. In the way loud noises make you tense. In the way you wait for permission that never comes. That's what UK prison does to an inmate after the cell door closes. It teaches you how to survive inside, and leaves you to figure out how to live again on your own. And that struggle often begins long before release day ever arrives. And by the time release is close enough to touch, most inmates are already tired. Not tired like they need sleep. Tired in a deeper way. Tired of waiting. Tired of adapting. Tired of holding parts of themselves together with routine and silence. As an inmate in a UK prison, you start realizing that the hardest work isn't staying out of trouble. It's staying connected to who you were before all of this. Before the door. Before the number. Before the waiting became normal. You replay moments from the outside in your head, trying to keep them sharp. A laugh. A smell. A street you used to walk down without thinking. You cling to those memories because they prove you existed beyond these walls. But memories fade when they're not fed. And prison starves you of reminders. You hear release dates talked about like finish lines. Like once you cross them, everything resets. But inmates know better. Release isn't a reset. It's a handover. From one kind of pressure to another. Because when the door finally opens, no one gives you time to adjust. The world expects you to move at its pace. To think clearly. To make choices. To fit back into systems that don't bend for hesitation. But prison has trained you to hesitate. It's trained you to wait for instructions, to avoid standing out, to measure your words, to keep your guard up. Those habits don't disappear just because the gate opens. They walk out with you. You see it in how former inmates stand in queues, scanning exits. In how they sit with their back to walls. In how silence still feels safer than speaking too much. UK prison leaves marks you can't photograph. And the truth is, some inmates never fully undo what was done to them here. Not because they're weak, but because the system was never designed to help them transition, only to contain them. People ask, did prison change you? The honest answer is always yes. It has to. Because anything that controls your time, your movement, your identity, your emotions, anything that does that will change you. UK prison doesn't just punish a moment in someone's life. It reshapes the way they experience every moment that comes after. So when the cell door closes for the first time, it's not just locking someone in. It's beginning a process. A slow, quiet process that rewires how an inmate thinks, feels, reacts, and survives. And when that door finally opens again, what steps out isn't just someone who served time. It's someone who lived under it. That's what UK prison does to an inmate after the cell door closes. Not all at once. Not loudly. But deeply. And once it's done, it never fully lets go. If this story made you see UK prison differently, take a moment to like the video. It helps these stories reach people who need to hear them. If you want more honest documentaries about prison life, not the Hollywood version, but the quiet truths most people never talk about, subscribe to the channel. And if you've lived this experience, or know someone who has, share your thoughts in the comments. These stories matter, and there are more coming.